My mother and sister told me I wasn't aesthetic enough for the wedding photos, uninviting me from the event I had single-handedly planned. They forgot one tiny detail: I own the venue. I didn't argue, I just canceled the booking and locked the gates. This is where the story truly begins, and you won't want to miss the fallout. Make sure you're subscribed to see it through to the end. We're always curious. Where in the world are you all watching from today? Let us know in the comments. I was on my knees, scrubbing a scuff mark off the polished oak floor of the grand hall, when I heard the click of heels echoing toward me. My back screamed in protest as I straightened up, wiping a stray lock of hair from my forehead with the back of my hand. I must have looked a fright: dust on my jeans, an oversized work shirt stained with furniture polish, and dark circles under my eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. I had been awake for nearly 36 hours straight. The wedding was in 2 days. Bella's wedding. My little sister, the princess, the golden child, the one person in the world who could demand the moon and have our mother, Joyce, try to lasso it for her. "Alice, get up off the floor, for heaven's sake." Joyce's voice cut through the silence of the empty venue. "You look like the help." I stood, brushing off my knees, and forced a smile. "I am the help today, Mom. Someone had to make sure the floor was perfect for Bella's first dance. The cleaning crew missed a spot." Joyce didn't smile back. She was standing there with Bella and my father, Andrew. The three of them looked like a magazine cover, perfectly groomed, relaxed, glowing with anticipation. Bella was clutching a binder of wedding vows, looking everywhere but at me. Andrew was staring at his shoes, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, a posture I recognized all too well. It was his "I am checking out of this conflict" stance. "We need to talk to you, Alice," Bella said, finally looking at me. Her voice was high, tight. "Can it wait?" I asked, checking my watch. "I have the florist coming in 20 minutes to check the arch measurements, and the caterer is worried about the fridge capacity in the prep kitchen. I need to." "No," Joyce interrupted, stepping forward. She placed a hand on Bella's shoulder, a protective, maternal gesture that she had never, not once in 32 years, used on me. "It cannot wait. It's about the ceremony on Saturday." I froze, a cold knot formed in my stomach. Is everything okay? Did the officiant cancel? I have a backup list in the office I can call. "The ceremony is fine," Joyce said, her voice eerily calm. "It's about the guest list." "We're over capacity." I asked, confused. "I told you, the fire marshal is strict about the head count in the main hall. If you invited those extra cousins from Idaho, we're going to have to move the cocktail hour to the terrace, and the weather forecast is—" "It's not the cousins," Bella snapped, looking annoyed that I was talking logistics. She took a deep breath. "It's you, Alice." The air left the room. The massive, high-ceilinged hall, which usually felt so grand and welcoming to me, suddenly felt suffocating. "Me," I whispered. "Look, honey," Joyce said, using that patronizing tone she reserved for when she was about to deliver a fatal blow. "We've been discussing the aesthetic, the vibe of the wedding. This is a very high-end event. Bella has a specific vision. It's elegant, it's youthful, it's cohesive." "I know," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I helped design it. I built the mood boards. I sourced the linens." "Exactly," Joyce said, as if that proved her point. "You've done so much work behind the scenes, you're exhausted. You look, well, look at you." She gestured vaguely at my dusty clothes. "You're worn out. And frankly, your energy is just very heavy right now. You're stressed, you're frantic, and it's affecting Bella." "I'm frantic because I'm doing everything," I said, looking at Andrew, pleading silently for him to step in. He didn't look up. "And we appreciate that," Bella said quickly. "But for the wedding day itself, for the photos, we just think it would be better if you weren't there." The words hung in the air, heavy and toxic. "I don't understand," I said. "You want me to stay in the back, manage the kitchen." "No," Joyce said firmly. "We want you to take the weekend off. Go to a spa, go home. We don't want you at the venue." "You're uninviting me," I asked, the realization hitting me like a physical slap. "From my own sister's wedding. After I've spent 6 months planning it. After I stopped myself. After I gave you this venue for free." "It's just not a good fit, Alice," Joyce said, checking her manicure. You're nearly 10 years older than Bella's friends, you're single. You'll be sitting at the singles table looking miserable, and it's just going to bring down the mood. The photos need to be perfect. We can't have your negativity in the background. I looked at Bella. You agree with this? Bella shrugged, a little pout on her lips. I just want my day to be perfect, Alice. You're always so serious. You're like a dark cloud. Mom's right, it's just better this way. I looked at Andrew. Dad. He finally looked up, his eyes watery, but he didn't step forward. He just gave a small, helpless shrug. Your mother thinks it's for the best, Alice. Maybe you do need a break. Betrayal was total. It wasn't just a rejection, it was an erasure. They were happy to use my labor, my time, and my resources, but they didn't want me. To them, I wasn't a daughter or a sister. I was a utility, a tool to be used and then put back in the shed when the guests arrived. So, Joyce said, clapping her hands together softly. It's settled. You'll leave the keys with the coordinator and you'll head out tonight. We don't want any awkwardness when the rehearsal dinner guests arrive tomorrow. I looked at the three of them, the triumvirate of my torment. The silence in the hall was deafening. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they could hear it, but on the outside, a strange, cold calm washed over me. Okay, I said softly. Okay. Bella asked, surprised. She had expected a fight. She had expected me to beg. Okay, I repeated, if that's what you all agreed on. It is, Joyce said, relieved. See, I told you she'd understand. She knows her place. That line, she knows her place. It echoed in my skull, bouncing off the historic stone walls of the property. They thought my place was in the dirt, scrubbing their floors. They had no idea that my place was on the deed. I walked out of the grand hall without another word. I didn't stomp. I didn't slam the heavy oak doors. I didn't cry, not yet. I simply turned my back on them, picked up my cleaning bucket, and walked toward the service exit. Make sure you leave the binder with the vendor contacts on the desk. Bella called out after me. And double-check that the AC is set to 70 degrees before you go. I didn't acknowledge her. I kept walking, the sound of their relieved chatter fading behind me as I entered the cool, dim corridor of the service wing. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the bucket in the utility sink with a loud clatter. I gripped the edge of the porcelain, leaning my weight against it, trying to remember how to breathe. The pain was physical, a sharp, twisting knife in my chest. I had spent my entire life trying to earn a seat at their table. I had been the good student, the responsible one, the one who stayed local to help with Grandma when she got sick, while Bella went off to party in Miami. I was the one who built a career from the ground up, restoring historic properties and turning them into lucrative businesses, just so I could have something to show them, something to make them proud. And now, here I was, 32 years old, being told to leave my own property because I didn't fit the aesthetic. I walked into my office, my private sanctuary at the back of the estate, and closed the door. The room smelled of old paper, lavender, and the expensive coffee I bought to treat myself during these long work weeks. On the wall hung the framed accolades: Restoration Project of the Year, Top 30 Under 30 in Development, and the most important one, the Deed of Ownership for the Vane Estate, framed simply in black wood. I sat down at my desk and stared at the phone. It was already lighting up. Text from Bella, don't forget to confirm the limo for Mom before you sign off. Text from Joyce, leave the master key under the mat in the office. We don't want to hunt for it. They really thought I was just going to fade away. They thought I would go home, cry into a pillow, and then quietly pay the invoices when they came in next week. That was the dynamic we had established. I suffered, they prospered. I paid, they consumed. I felt a tear finally escape, hot and stinging on my cheek. I wiped it away angrily. The audacity of it was breathtaking. They were standing in a building I bought. They were planning to dance on floors I paid to restore. They were going to eat food I had negotiated discounts for, drinking wine I had curated. I looked at the calendar on my wall. Bella's big day was circled in red marker with hearts drawn around it. I had drawn those hearts. I had been so happy for her, despite everything. Even when she demanded the most expensive package. Even when Joyce insisted I comp the venue fee, a $40,000 loss for my business, because family helps family. I had agreed, I had absorbed the cost. I had worked nights and weekends to make up the deficit so my board of investors wouldn't ask questions. And this was my reward: exile. I reached for my laptop and opened it. The screen glowed to life, illuminating my face in the darkening room. I navigated to the internal server for the Vane Estate Management System. There it was. Event ID 4920. Client Bella Andrews and Mark St. James. Date October 14th. Status confirmed. Balance due $0. Family comp. My finger hovered over the trackpad. They thought I was just the manager. Or maybe they thought that because I was family, the ownership was a fluid concept, something that belonged to the collective whenever it suited them. They assumed that my love for them was a bottomless well they could draw from, no matter how much poison they poured into it. But they had forgotten one crucial thing. In the world of high-stakes property management, contracts are everything. And when I had comped the venue, I hadn't just waved a hand and said, "It's free." I had drawn up a standard zero-cost contract. It was a formality, I had told them at the time, just for insurance purposes. Joyce had signed it without reading it, too busy critiquing the font on the invitations. I pulled the physical file from my drawer. I flipped to page 12, paragraph 4, the Code of Conduct and Harassment Clause. The venue owner reserves the right to immediately terminate any event, without refund or notice, if the client or any member of the client's party engages in hostile, abusive, or discriminatory behavior toward venue staff or management. I looked at the signature at the bottom, Joyce Andrews. I wasn't just the sister they didn't want in the photos. I was the venue management they had just abused. They wanted me to leave. They wanted me to disappear. I picked up my phone and dialed the number for my head of security, a massive, silent man named Marcus who had been with me since my first renovation project. "Marcus," I said, my voice steady now. The tears were gone. "I need you to come to the estate and bring the padlock for the main gate, the heavy-duty one." To understand why this hurt so much, you have to understand the history of the Andrews women. Joyce was a beauty queen. I don't mean that metaphorically. She was literally Miss Tri-State 1988. She never let us forget it. Her entire life was a performance, a series of curated moments designed to project an image of effortless perfection. She wasn't a mother. She was a manager of her own personal brand long before social media existed. I was a disappointment from birth. I was colloquy, I had frizzy hair, and I was bookish. I didn't care about pageants or dresses, I cared about how things were built. I spent my childhood following my grandfather around his workshop, learning about joinery and load-bearing walls. Joyce found this unbecoming. She tried to put me in ballet, I tripped. She tried to put me in modeling, I froze. Then came Bella. Bella was Joyce 2.0, blonde, petite, bubbly, and completely devoid of empathy. From the moment she could walk, she knew that a smile could get her a cookie and a tear could get her a pony. She was the golden child, the sun around which our family orbit spun. Andrew, my father, was a ghost in his own house. He was a decent man, I think, but weak. He hated conflict more than he loved fairness. If Joyce was screaming or Bella was crying, he would do whatever it took to make it stop. Usually, that meant sacrificing me. "Just give her the toy, Alice. It's not worth the noise. Just apologize to your mother, Alice. You know how she gets. Just pay for Bella's car repair, Alice. You have a good job and she's struggling." That was the refrain of my 20s. Alice will fix it. I worked my way through college on scholarships and 3 part-time jobs. I got my degree in architecture and a master's in business. I started flipping small houses, doing the drywall and plumbing myself to save money. I slept on air mattresses in construction zones for 5 years. Bella dropped out of college twice. She pursued acting in LA, which meant I paid her rent for 2 years. She started a jewelry line, which meant I bought $5,000 worth of beads she never used. When she met Mark, a sweet but dim-witted guy from a wealthy family, Joyce went into overdrive. This wedding was her magnum opus. It was the moment she would cement her status in society. And I, the dutiful scapegoat, offered them the Vane estate. It was my crown jewel. An 18th century manor I had spent 3 years restoring. It was booked out 2 years in advance at $40,000 a weekend. I bumped a paying client, A tech CEO to give Bella her date. I ate the cost. But as the wedding approached, the dynamic shifted. Joyce didn't treat me like the generous donor. She treated me like a disobedient servant. The hydrangeas are the wrong shade of blue, Alice. Fix it. Why can't we land a helicopter on the south lawn? Your insurance is ridiculous. Mark's mother thinks the staff uniforms are tacky. Change them. I took all of it. Because I thought, this is it. This is the big gift. Once I give them this, they will finally respect me. They will finally see me as an equal. I was delusional. The antagonist of this story isn't just Joyce, and it isn't just Bella. It is the entitlement that they breathe like oxygen. Bella isn't just a bride. She is a monster created by 30 years of never hearing the word no. She stood there in the grand hall, watching our mother evict me, and she looked bored. She didn't care that she was hurting me. She only cared that my presence might lower the aesthetic value of her Instagram photos. And Joyce is a predator. She looked at me, her daughter, and saw a stain on the carpet. I sat in my office, listening to the muffled sounds of them laughing in the hall. They were probably practicing the first dance. They were spinning around on my floors, under my chandeliers, celebrating their exclusion of me. I looked at the contract again. They had uninvited me because I made them uncomfortable, because I was depressing. Well, they were about to find out just how depressing things could get. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to make a scene. That's what the old Alice would have done, cried and begged for crumbs of affection. The new Alice, the Alice who negotiated with contractors and stared down city zoning boards. She was going to follow the contract to the letter. I picked up my phone and dialed the caterer first. Hi, Jean-Luc, it's Alice at the Vane. I'm so sorry to do this, but there's been a change of plans regarding the Andrews St. James wedding. Yes, it's cancelled. No, do not deliver the food. The venue is going into lockdown immediately. I hung up. One down, 7 vendors to go. The caterer, Jean-Luc, was stunned into silence on the other end of the line. His heavy French accent broke only to ask, Madame Vane, are you sure? The prep work. The truffle order alone is. I understand, Jean-Luc, I said, my voice eerily calm, the professional mask slipping back into place. Per the contract, I am invoking the cancellation clause due to client misconduct. You will be paid in full for the food costs. Send the invoice directly to me, but do not bring a single tray to the estate. Donate it to the shelter downtown if you can't use it elsewhere. Very well, he murmured, sensing the steel in my tone. Au revoir, madame. I hung up and stared at the phone. My hands were no longer shaking. A cold, clinical efficiency had taken over. This was no longer a family dispute. This was a business transaction gone wrong. I had dealt with difficult clients before, entitled brides, demanding mothers-in-law, corporate event planners who screamed about napkin folds. I knew exactly how to handle them. The difference was, this time, I wasn't trying to save the event. I was trying to dismantle it. Next was the florist, then the band, then the lighting crew. Each call followed the same script. The event at the Vane estate is cancelled effective immediately. Do not come to the property. You will be compensated for your time. The confusion on the other end was palpable. But Mrs. Andrews just called me 10 minutes ago to add more peonies to the arch. The florist exclaimed. Mrs. Andrews is no longer the client of record, I said smoothly. As the owner of the venue, I am exercising my right to refuse service. Please do not engage with her further regarding this location. By the time I hung up on the last vendor, the rental company providing the gold Chaivari chairs, the sun had fully set. The estate was quiet, save for the distant hum of the crickets and the occasional owl hooting in the ancient oaks. I could still hear them in the grand hall, though, faint laughter, music playing from a portable speaker. They were practicing their first dance, blissfully unaware that the ground beneath their feet was about to disappear. I needed to be thorough. I couldn't just lock the doors. I had to ensure they had no recourse. I opened my laptop again and pulled up the security camera feeds. There they were on screen 3. Joyce was directing Bella and Mark, her hands moving in expansive gestures as she critiqued their waltz. Andrew was sitting in a chair in the corner, scrolling on his phone, oblivious. They looked so happy. So complete. A perfect little family unit that had simply excised the cancerous growth that was me. I felt a surge of nausea, but I pushed it down. I needed leverage. Real, tangible leverage in case they tried to sue or claim squatters' rights. I accessed the digital archive of our email correspondence over the last 6 months. I searched for keywords. Uninviting, aesthetic, tension. Nothing explicitly stated in writing. They were smart enough to keep the cruelty verbal. But then I remembered something. The text messages. I pulled up the group chat named Bella's Big Day. The one I had been muted in for weeks but never removed from. I scrolled back. Joyce, yesterday, 10:45 p.m. Honestly, having Alice there is going to ruin the vibe. She's just so heavy. Can we just tell her she's not needed? Maybe say it's a space issue. Bella, yesterday, 10:47 p.m. I know, she's such a downer. And she'll try to make it about her somehow. Just tell her to leave, it's my day. Andrew, yesterday, 10:50 p.m. Are you sure? She's done a lot of work. Joyce, yesterday, 10:52 p.m. Andrew, stop being soft. She's barely family at this point anyway. She's just the help. She'll get over it. She's just the help. I screenshotted it. Then I screenshotted the next 50 messages where they mocked my taste, complained about my cheap suggestions, which were actually high-end options I was subsidizing, and strategized on how to exclude me from the family photos. I saved them all into a folder labeled Evidence of Hostility. Then I did something I hadn't planned on. I opened the financial spreadsheet for the wedding. Total cost of venue rental waived, $45,000. Total cost of catering upgrades paid by me, $8,500. Total cost of floral overages paid by me, $3,200. Total cost of band deposit paid by me, $2,000. I highlighted the total, $58,700. That was the price of my love. That was the cost of my desperation to be included. And they had thrown it back in my face because I wasn't aesthetic enough. I printed the spreadsheet. I printed the contract with the cancellation clause highlighted in neon yellow. I printed the screenshots. Then I stood up, smoothed my shirt, and walked to the wall safe behind a painting of the original estate owner. I spun the dial and retrieved a heavy iron key. The master key. The only key that could manually lock the main gates from the outside, overriding the electronic keypad. It was time to go. I walked back into the grand hall. The music was still playing, some sappy Ed Sheeran ballad. Bella and Mark were swaying in the center of the room, looking into each other's eyes. Joyce was circling them like a shark, filming on her phone. Shoulders back, Bella, chin up. Joyce barked. Mark, hand lower on her waist. Good, perfect. They didn't hear me enter. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching. It was a beautiful scene. The warm light from the chandeliers caught the dust motes in the air, creating a golden haze. It was exactly the kind of moment I had worked so hard to create for them. "Excuse me," I said, my voice cutting through the music. They all jumped. Mark stumbled, stepping on Bella's foot. Bella let out a sharp cry of annoyance. Joyce spun around, her face twisting into a scowl when she saw me. "Alice." Joyce hissed, marching toward me. "I thought we agreed you were leaving. Why are you still here? You're ruining the moment." "I am leaving," I said calmly. "I just need everyone to clear out first." Joyce stopped, confused. "Excuse me." I said everyone needs to leave. Now. Bella disentangled herself from Mark and stormed over. "What are you talking about? We have the venue until 10. We're practicing." "Actually," I said, pulling the contract from my back pocket, "you don't have the venue at all anymore." "Is this a joke?" Bella laughed, a sharp, incredulous sound. "You can't kick us out. Mom signed the contract." "Exactly," I said. "And Mom signed a clause that allows me, the owner, to terminate the event immediately if the client engages in hostile or abusive behavior toward the staff." "Abusive?" Joyce scoffed. "Don't be dramatic, Alice. We just asked you to take a step back. That's hardly abuse." "You called me the help to my face," I said, my voice rising slightly. "You told me I wasn't welcome at my own sister's wedding because I wasn't aesthetic enough. You conspired to use me for my money and my property and then discard me. That is hostile behavior, and I am terminating the contract." "You can't do that," Joyce shrieked, her composure cracking. "The wedding is in 2 days, people are flying in tomorrow." "That sounds like a you problem," I said coldly. Mark stepped forward, looking nervous. "Alice, come on, let's just calm down. Maybe we can work something out. You can come to the reception, okay? We can squeeze a chair in at the back." I looked at him. He was a nice enough guy, but he was weak, just like my father. "It's too late for that, Mark. The cancellation is already processed. I've called the vendors." The silence that followed was absolute. You called the vendors." Bella whispered, her face going pale. "All of them," I confirmed. "Catering, flowers, music, lighting. They've all been notified that the event is canceled and they are not to come to the property. Jean-Luc was particularly relieved. He hated your menu changes." "You bitch!" Bella screamed, lunging at me. Mark caught her by the waist, holding her back. "You jealous, bitter bitch. You're just doing this because no one wants you, because you're alone." "Maybe," I said, unflinching, "but at least I have a venue." Joyce was shaking. She looked like she was about to explode. "Alice, you listen to me. If you do this, if you ruin this for your sister, you are dead to us. Do you hear me? Dead." "I was already dead to you, Mom," I said softly. "You just forgot to bury me." "Andrew," Joyce screamed, turning to my father who was still sitting in the corner looking horrified. "Do something. Talk to your daughter." Andrew stood up slowly. He looked from Joyce to me, his eyes wide with panic. "Alice, honey, please, this is too much. Just let them have the wedding. We can talk about this later." "No, Dad," I said. "We can't because there is no later. This is it. I am done being the doormat. I am done buying your love." I pulled out the invoice I had printed. "Do you see this number? $58,000. That's what I was gifting you. That's what you threw away because you didn't like my vibe. Well, the vibe has changed. The vibe is now closed for business." "I will sue you," Joyce yelled, pointing a manicured finger in my face. "I will take you for everything you have. I have lawyers." "Go ahead," I said, holding up the contract. "It's ironclad. You signed it, Mom. Immediate termination without refund. Read the fine print next time you try to screw someone over." "Get out," Bella screamed, sobbing now. "Get out of my wedding venue." "Actually," I said, turning toward the door. "You get out. You have 10 minutes to clear your personal belongings from the bridal suite. After that, Marcus is locking the gates. And if you're not on the other side of them, I'm calling the police for trespassing." 10 minutes later, I was standing by the main gate, the heavy iron bars casting long shadows in the moonlight. Marcus, my head of security, stood beside me, his arms crossed, looking like a stone statue. A convoy of cars came speeding down the driveway, Joyce's Mercedes, Bella's convertible, and Andrew's sedan. They didn't slow down as they approached the gate, only braking at the last second when they saw Marcus standing there. Joyce rolled down her window. Her face was a mask of pure hatred. "You will regret this, Alice. You have made a powerful enemy today." "Drive safe," I said flatly. As they peeled out onto the main road, tires screeching, I felt a strange sensation in my chest. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't joy. It was relief. Deep, exhausting, bone-deep relief. But I knew it wasn't over. The next morning, the storm hit. My phone exploded. Text messages, voicemails, DMs. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were calling me selfish, cruel, and insane. Joyce had spun the narrative immediately. She had posted a long, tearful video on Facebook claiming that I had suffered a mental breakdown and canceled the wedding out of jealousy and spite. Joyce's Facebook post: "Friends and family, it is with a heavy heart that I must announce a change of venue for Bella's wedding. My eldest daughter, Alice, is currently struggling with some severe mental health issues and has inexplicably locked us out of the family estate. We are scrambling to find a new location, but love will prevail. Please pray for Alice in this difficult time." The comments were brutal. "OMG, poor Bella. How could a sister do that? Mental illness is so hard, but ruining a wedding, unforgivable. Sending prayers. Let me know if you need help finding a place. She was good, I had to give her that. She had turned herself into the victim and me into the unstable villain in less than 12 hours. But she had made a mistake. She had lied about the family estate. The Vane estate wasn't family property. It was solely mine, purchased with my money, restored with my sweat, and held in an LLC solely in my name. I sat down at my computer. I wasn't going to engage in a Facebook war. I was going to engage in a legal one. I drafted a cease and desist letter, not from me, but from my company's lawyer. To Joyce Andrews and Bella sent. James Ray, defamation and libel regarding the Vane Estate LLC. You are hereby ordered to cease all public statements regarding the ownership and management of the Vane Estate. Your recent social media posts contain demonstrably false claims regarding the property's status as a family estate and libelous statements regarding the owner's mental health. Failure to retract these statements immediately will result in a lawsuit for damages to the business's reputation. I sent it. Then, I went a step further. I knew Joyce would try to find another venue. I knew she would try to spin this to the local vendors, probably claiming I had stolen their money. So I wrote an email to the local Event Planners Association, a network of every major venue owner and vendor in the tri-state area. I was a board member. Subject: alert regarding client Joyce Andrews / Bella St. James. Dear colleagues, please be advised that the Vane Estate has terminated its contract with the above-named clients due to breach of contract and hostile conduct toward staff. We have received reports that they are seeking a last-minute venue for this weekend. While we wish them luck, we advise all vendors to secure full payment up front, as there are outstanding disputes regarding financial responsibility. Attached is the standard, do not rent, alert for your records. It was the nuclear option in the event world. The do not rent list was shared among professionals to protect against scammers and abusive clients. By sending that email, I wasn't just closing my doors, I was warning every other door in the county to stay shut. I hit send. An hour later, my phone rang. It wasn't Joyce, it was Andrew. Alice, his voice was shaking. What are you doing? The country club just called Joyce. They said they can't host us because of some alert you sent out. They're blacklisting us, Alice. Everywhere is booked or refusing to take Joyce's calls. I'm protecting my business, Dad, I said. Joyce is lying about me online. She's claiming I'm mentally unstable. That hurts my brand. I have to defend myself. She's just upset, Andrew pleaded. She's your mother. You can't just destroy her reputation like this. She tried to destroy mine first, I said. Did you tell her to stop? Did you tell her not to post that video? Silence. I didn't think so, I said. You stood by while she threw me to the wolves, Dad. Now you can stand by while she deals with the consequences. Alice, please, he sounded broken. Bella is hysterical. She's going to have to get married in the backyard, in the dirt, with no caterer. Maybe she should have thought of that before she called the venue owner a dark cloud and uninvited her, I said. They are coming over, Andrew whispered. Joyce is coming to the estate. She says she's going to break the gate down if she has to. She's bringing the police. Let her come, I said, looking out the window at the long driveway. I have the deed, I have the contract, and I have security footage of her threatening me. Let her bring the police. It'll save me the trouble of calling them myself. I hung up and called Marcus. Heads up, I said. We're about to have visitors. Keep the gate locked and start recording. The sound of police sirens cut through the serene twilight of the estate, growing louder with each second. I stood on the porch of the main house, arms crossed, watching the flashing blue and red lights bounce off the ancient stone walls. Marcus stood by the gate, his posture relaxed but alert. 2 patrol cars pulled up, followed closely by Joyce's Mercedes and Bella's convertible. Joyce was out of the car before it had even fully stopped, storming toward the gate like a woman possessed. Open this gate right now. She screamed, rattling the iron bars. This is my property. My daughter is getting married here. You can't lock us out. The officers, 2 young men who looked more exhausted than intimidated, stepped out of their cruisers. Ma'am, please step back from the gate, one of them said, his hand resting on his belt. She stole my venue. Joyce shrieked, pointing a shaking finger at me up on the porch. My daughter has a contract. We have guests flying in. Arrest her. I walked down the stone steps slowly, clutching a folder of documents. My heart was pounding, but my face was a mask of calm. This was the moment I had prepared for. "Officers," I said, my voice steady, "I am the owner of this property. My name is Alice Vane. I have the deed right here." I held up the document. "And I have a signed contract with these individuals that was terminated yesterday due to a violation of our conduct policy." One of the officers took the folder and began to read. Joyce was practically vibrating with rage. "It's a family dispute. She's having a breakdown. She's mentally unstable." "Actually," I said, cutting her off, "I have a clean bill of health from my therapist, which is also in that folder, along with affidavits from 3 of my staff members who witnessed Mrs. Andrews verbally abusing me and my employees on multiple occasions." The officer looked up from the papers, his eyebrows raised. "This contract, it says the owner can terminate for hostile behavior without refund, and it's signed by Joyce Andrews." "That's me," Joyce yelled. "But I didn't read the fine print. She tricked me." "Ignorance of a contract is not a defense, ma'am," the officer said, handing the folder back to me. "It looks like a civil matter to me. If she wants you off the property, you have to leave." "But the wedding," Bella wailed from the car, tears streaming down her face. "My dress, my flowers, my perfect day." "Your perfect day was canceled when you decided your sister wasn't good enough to be in your photos," I said, my voice cutting through her sobs. "You wanted me gone. You wanted me out of the picture. Well, I removed myself. And since I come with the venue is gone too." Joyce lunged at the gate again, her face contorted. "I will ruin you. I will tell everyone what a spiteful, jealous little—" "You already tried that on Facebook," I interrupted. "And my lawyer has already drafted a defamation suit. Keep talking, Mom. Every word is just another zero on the settlement check." The officers exchanged a look. "Ma'am," the first officer said firmly to Joyce, "you need to leave. The owner has requested you vacate the premises. If you continue to cause a disturbance, we will have to arrest you for trespassing and disorderly conduct." Joyce froze. For the first time in her life, her beauty queen charm and bullying tactics had hit a wall of absolute legal authority. She looked at the officers, then at the locked gate, and finally at me. Her eyes were filled with a cold, terrifying realization. She had lost Andrew. She screamed, turning to my father, who was cowering in the passenger seat of her car. "Do something." Andrew slowly got out of the car. He walked up to the gate, looking old and defeated. He looked at me through the bars, his eyes pleading. "Alice," he whispered, "please just open the gate for Bella." "I can't, Dad," I said, my voice softening just a fraction. "Not this time. You let them treat me like garbage for 30 years. You let them use me. You let them uninvite me from my own home. This is the consequence." Andrew looked down at his shoes. I tried to tell them," he mumbled. "I said it was wrong." "But you didn't stop them," I said, "and that makes you just as guilty." He nodded slowly, tears welling in his eyes. He turned back to the car without another word. Joyce let out a guttural scream of frustration, kicking the gate one last time before storming back to her Mercedes. "You are dead to me, Alice, dead." "Goodbye, Mom," I said. They got into their cars and reversed down the driveway, the officers following them to ensure they left the property. As the taillights disappeared into the night, the silence returned to the Vane estate. I stood there for a long time, holding the folder to my chest. I was shaking now, the adrenaline fading, leaving behind a deep, aching sadness. I had won, but it felt like I had lost everything. Marcus walked up to me and placed a heavy hand on my shoulder. "You okay, boss?" "I don't know," I whispered. "I really don't know." "You did the right thing," he said gruffly. "They didn't deserve you." I looked up at the stars above the estate. "No," I said, a small, sad smile touching my lips. "They didn't." The wedding, or what was left of it, happened in the backyard of a cousin's house 2 towns over. From what I heard, it was a disaster. It rained. The food was ordered from a local deli at the last minute. The flowers were supermarket bouquets. And Bella spent the entire reception crying in the bathroom. Joyce tried to sue me, of course. She found a lawyer who was willing to take the case on contingency, claiming emotional distress and breach of implied contract. But my documentation was meticulous. The evidence of hostility folder, the signed contract, the witness statements from the vendors, it was all there. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice in the preliminary hearing, citing the clear terms of the agreement Joyce had signed. She was also ordered to pay my legal fees. The fallout was swift. The do not rent alert I had sent out did its job. Joyce was blacklisted from every major event venue in the state. Her reputation as a difficult client spread like wildfire in our small social circles. People started to distance themselves from her, tired of the constant drama and victim playing. Bella's marriage didn't last a year. Mark, it turned out, wasn't as spineless as we thought. Once the wedding disaster settled and the bills started piling up, bills that I wasn't there to pay, he realized that Bella and Joyce came as a package deal, a very expensive and exhausting one. He filed for divorce 10 months later. As for me, I sold the Vane estate. It had too many memories, too many ghosts of what I had hoped for and what had been broken. I sold it to a nice couple from the city who wanted to turn it into a boutique hotel. I made a significant profit, enough to start over anywhere I wanted. I moved to the coast, 3 states away. I bought a small, dilapidated Victorian by the sea and started restoring it just for me. No deadlines, no clients, no family expectations. One afternoon, about a year after the wedding that wasn't, I was sanding the porch railing when a car pulled into my driveway. I froze, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was Andrew. He got out of the car slowly. He looked older, thinner. He walked up the path, holding a small box. "Hi, Alice," he said, his voice raspy. "Hi, Dad," I said, putting down the sander. I didn't invite him up. I heard you were here," he said, looking at the ocean view. "It's beautiful." "It is," I said. He held out the box. "I found this in the attic. It's your grandfather's old chisel set, the one he used to let you play with." I looked at the box. I remembered it well. It was the only thing I had ever really wanted from that house. "Thank you," I said, taking it. "I left her," Andrew said suddenly. I looked up at him, shocked. "You left Mom." 6 months ago," he said, staring out at the water. "After the lawsuit, after everything, I just couldn't do it anymore. I saw what she did to you. I saw what I let her do. And I couldn't live with myself." He looked at me then, tears streaming down his face. "I am so sorry, Alice. I failed you. I was a coward." I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time in a long time. I saw the regret, the shame, the exhaustion. "I can't fix it, Dad," I said softly. "I can't give you those years back, and I can't just forget." "I know," he said. "I don't expect you to. I just wanted you to have the chisels. And to know that, I'm trying." He turned to leave. "Dad," I called out. He stopped. "Do you know how to strip varnish?" I asked, pointing to the porch railing. He turned back, a small, tentative smile appearing on his face. "I think I might remember a thing or two." "Grab a scraper," I said. "The coffee is inside." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. And as we worked side by side in the salty air, stripping away the old layers to reveal the clean wood beneath, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. I had lost a family that never really saw me. But in the wreckage, I had found myself. And maybe, just maybe, I had found a father too.